Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with Ron Placone and Steph Zamorano. Yes.
Cheers.
Hey, they're demonetizing our whole show, so please buy a cup mug and become a premium member of our show, or else we won't have a show. So thanks for doing that, because YouTube is coming after independent news producers like crazy. They don't want us, right? Because they have YouTube TV, and that's what they want you to do, and they're trying to, so stick with us. I appreciate your support. And because guess what's happening? This is from the New York Times. And the New York Times is officially funnier than The Onion. The Democratic Party is wiped out at every level of government because they got in bed with Wall Street and people caught on. And they offer people nothing. And so this guy, literally, this guy who wrote this op-ed, his name is Douglas Schoen. Douglas Schoen was a Hillary Clinton advisor to her campaign in 2008 and to Bill Clinton when he was in the White House in the mid-90s. He is what the Democratic Party is. And he wrote this article, and I was trying, when I do articles, I try to figure out which paragraphs to share, because you can't read a whole article. You just want to give bullet points to show you what it's about. This article, almost every paragraph reads like a comedy sketch. And so I'm going to show you the entire article. So here we go. Here's the first paragraph. It's going to be ready. Here we go. Many of the most prominent voices at the Democratic Party, led by Bernie Sanders, are advocating wealth redistribution through higher taxes and Medicare for all, and demonizing banks and Wall Street.
Those bullies.
Oh, boy. Here he goes, advocating for Medicare for all and demonizing the people who crashed our economy and kicked 5.1 million families out of their houses. Huh.
I like those things.
I like those things, too. Memories in politics are short, but those policies are vastly different from the program of the party's traditional center-left coalition. Those policies are vastly different? Medicare for all is vastly different? What the F?
Well, you look at the first sentence. Memories in politics are short. He's right, and his memory in politics only spans from 1992 to today.
Exactly.
So
you don't remember Harry Truman's dream of Medicare for all, or FDR's dream of Medicare for all, or LBG, who gave Medicare to senior citizens? LBJ? I said LBG.
Yeah.
LBJ? Yeah, talk about a short memory, huh? This is you're going to watch the mental gymnastics that these corporate Democrats have to do to keep sucking corporate cash. Under Bill Clinton, the coalition balanced the budget, acknowledged the limits of government, and protected the essential programs that make up the social safety net. No, you didn't. That's like a joke. It's like the opposite of what Bill Clinton did. Bill Clinton did NAFTA, which killed the unions in the United States. So unions, very important institution. That would be one of those protected essential programs. Unions. You know what else Bill Clinton did? He gutted welfare. At the same time, he exploded the prison population. So he took money out of helping poor people and put it into incarcerating poor people, which is exactly what they did. At the same time, Bill Clinton had a secret deal to privatize Social Security. Bill Clinton tried to privatize Social Security. Did you know that? Yes, you did, and you keep lying. So this is just neoliberals. This isn't mental gymnastics. This goes one step further. This is lying, because Bill Clinton did the exact opposite of that. And then he repealed the New Deal banking legislations, which crashed the economy within 10 years. This is in the New York Times. This is stuff that they consider good enough to print. President Clinton did this in part by moving the party away from a reflexive anti-Wall Street posture.
Wow, that's quite a phrase.
Quite a phrase.
Wow.
It's not popular to say so today, but there are still compelling reasons Democrats should strengthen ties to Wall Street. You know why it's not popular to say that today, Mr. Schoen, Mr. Loser? Because you guys are losers. Because you've been doing this strategy since 1992, and what did it get you? Nothing. You're wiped out at every level of government, and it's not like you're losing to political geniuses. You lost to Donald Trump and George fucking Bush. Two of the biggest knuckleheads the country's ever seen. And you're wiped out by Mitch McConnell in the Senate, and you're wiped out by Paul Ryan in the House. And you're wiped out at every state house, and every governorship. You're wiped out. So that's why it's not popular, because becoming just like Republicans has led to where you are. And what he's saying is do more of that. That's what we got to do. I know Bernie sounds good.
I don't want Democrats to strengthen ties to Wall Street. I want them to strengthen protections against Wall Street.
Well, guess what? We're going to get to that stuff.
Oh.
As the party has left behind that version of liberalism, it has also found its way to its weakest electoral position nationally and at the state. So he's saying because we left behind that version. We left behind what version? The one where we strengthen ties to Wall Street? We haven't left behind that version. The ties to Wall Street are stronger than ever. What the F are you talking about? He's acting like Bernie won. Bernie lost. Hillary Clinton won. We gave those people a Wall Street-friendly corporatist who was also a warmonger, and she lost to a game show host. That's how done people are with this idea.
But Jimmy, we need to strengthen our ties to Wall Street, because if Hillary had more money, she would have beat him. He spent way more than her, right? He was the...
As the party has left behind that version of liberalism, it has also found its way to its weakest electoral position nationally at the state level since and he's trying to he just did a switcheroo. You're trying to pretend. We just got done with 8 years of Obama neoliberalism, and before that it was Bill Clinton's 8 years of neoliberalism. When did we go to this Bernie Sanders progressivism when did we leave behind our corporatism and our ties to Wall Street? That hasn't happened. And now the Democrats, because they have stayed tied to Wall Street, are at their weakest point since 1929. And then what happened after 1929? What happened? So if you're at your weakest point, should you get in bed further with Wall Street, or should you fight Wall Street after a major economic collapse where the country sees what's going on? Which would be your advice? Oh, so a Clinton advisor's advice would be to get in bed with Wall Street. We're already in bed with Wall Street. But guess a little bit of a smarter, talk about short memories. There was a guy named FDR, and this is what he said in the 1930s about Wall Street. After, remember, the Democrats are at their lowest point in history.
We had to struggle with the old enemies of peace: business and financial monopoly, speculation, reckless banking, class antagonism, sectionalism, war profiteering. They had begun to consider the government of the United States as a mere appendage to their own affairs. And we know now that government by organized money is just as dangerous as government by organized mob. Never before in all our history have these forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
He said that Wall Street, organized money, is united in their hatred for him, and he welcomed their hate. And that, of course, was definitely a losing electoral strategy, because he only won the presidency 4 times in a row. They had to pass a law that didn't allow people to love this guy as much anymore. They said after he died, they said you're not allowed to love a president as much as you loved FDR anymore. But what, Ron?
Well, I was going to say, he did go to Wall Street, though, and he said, "Don't worry, I have a public position and a private one." He did. Did he not do that?
Yeah, right?
So that's FDR taking it to the banks, and they elected that guy president until he died. This guy, this Clinton advisor, couldn't even beat Donald Trump. Who are you going to listen to, FDR or jagoffs who are born losers? Hillary Clinton's lurched to the left. I don't even know what this, you can't write a funnier punchline than that. This guy should write for The Onion. Hillary Clinton's lurched. Remember when she lurched to the left when she said, "Single payer will never, ever come to pass"? Remember that lurch to the left? Remember when when she went to Dapple? Remember that lurch to the left? Oh, she didn't go. Remember when she said she had a private position and a public position? Remember that? Remember when she said she wanted to export fracking to the whole world? Remember that?
Remember when she embraced the fight for 15, no exceptions? Remember that?
Wow. Her alerts to the left. What was her alerts to the... You just get to make stuff up. You just get to say stuff. If you're writing for the New York Times, we know that. You just get to make stuff up.
It sounds pretty sinister. Her
The
lurch to the left.
Lurch to the left.
Oh,
Well-
careful.
Well, lurch is defined as an abrupt, uncontrolled movement, especially an unsteady tilt or roll. So maybe she lurched to the left, but then lurched back real quick.
Yeah.
Like she was like, oh, I just lurched there. I didn't want to. Oh, I got to get out. Maybe that's what he meant.
Yeah. Hillary Clinton's lurch to the left probably cost her key Midwestern states.
No, she didn't.
How about not fucking going to Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Cost you at that state. How about being a shitty candidate? Cost you those states. How about you being the face of NAFTA? Cost you that state. How about Barack Obama pushing the TPP while you're trying to get votes in those states? That where you screwed them with NAFTA. How about that? How about she exploded the prison population and put a lot of those blacks that would have voted for her in prison? And now they have felonies and now they can't vote for that. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was cross-check. Maybe you look into Greg Palast reporting because that's what a lot of it was too. Cross-check, just like they did in 2000, 2004, and they did it again.
Well, he also points out that Barack Obama won those states twice, and we all know what Barack Obama did. He ran on a center-right platform, and then when he got into office was some huge progressive.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah.
the way it worked. War is peace, freedom's the police state. I understand this guy's writing now.
Yeah.
I get it.
I get it. Barack Obama went to Flint, Michigan, drank a glass of water, and left.
Water's fine.
Water's fine. See ya. Take care. Everything's good. I'm not making it up. Everything's good. See ya. Take care. I'm off to give $100 billion to the war machine. But you guys, you'll get water someday. After the 2016 election, I have to read you this whole thing. It is the most ridiculous thing I've read this year. And I read parts of Hillary Clinton's book. After the 2016 election, the Democratic vice presidential nominee, Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia.
There's a winner.
Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia wanted the party's, quote, broad anti-business rhetoric distracts its leaders from making growth the goal and manages to scare off entrepreneurs and small businesses, too. So you are going to quote Tim Kaine. A quote from a guy who couldn't beat Mike Pence in a debate. That's who you're quoting? A guy, let's remember, was on the losing ticket to Donald Trump and Mike Pence. That's the political advice we should be following? That guy?
Yeah, you know how hard it is for all these entrepreneurs and small businesses to succeed. How are they ever going to succeed in this country?
What the... Democrats should keep... This is this guy again. Democrats should keep ties with Wall Street for several reasons. The first is an ugly... The only reason... This is all bullshit, what he's going to say. Every reason he gives is a bullshit reason. The only reason that he wants the Democrats to keep their ties to Wall Street is because it keeps the money flowing. Because he's friends with guys on Wall Street, because I'm sure he's gotten a lot of Wall Street cash through consulting and all that stuff. That's where the money goes. That's why these guys keep doing this. That's got to take the corporate cash. Why? Because then I get more money. Because I'm a consultant, and then we can buy more ads. And when we buy ads, that's how I make my money. So that's what this is really about. The first is here are the reasons. These are the pretend reasons. They're all bullshit. They're all lies. But of course it's lies. It's in the New York Times op-ed piece. Of course it's in the what a shit op-ed section they have. They still employ David Brooks, a guy who's only read for cartoon reasons now. And now they have this guy. The first is an ugly fact of politics. Money. That's it. That's what the first reason is an ugly fact of politics. Money. Maintaining ties to Wall Street makes economic sense for Democrats and keeps their coffers full. And as Ron has pointed out, it's those full coffers that win elections. That's why Hillary Clinton spent twice as much as Donald Trump and won. You got to have more money. Just like Hillary Clinton, twice as much. Lost. Bernie Sanders didn't have a pot to piss in when he started his campaign. No recognition. He was down 60 points in the polls to her. He won 23 states, $27 at a time. You fucking moron on purpose. But these guys aren't morons. These guys are liars. These guys are corrupt liars. They're criminals. In the 2020 election, some of the party's strongest potential presidential candidates, Senator Cory Booker, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Kamala Harris, as well as Deval Patrick, the former Massachusetts governor, should not be dismissed simply because of their current or past ties to Wall Street. I'm not dismissing them simply because of those ties. I'm dismissing them because of their track record of being corporatist neoliberals who sell out workers and progressive policies. That's why. And guess what? Those type of people have ties to Wall Street. I love how he says simply because of their current or past ties. They all have current ties. No one's stopping their ties.
And so did the propaganda machine get on board for the old, they're going to constantly tell me about Kamala Harris, Cory Booker.
This is
Booker.
it.
This is the golden team that they have for us?
This is the golden team. Kamala Harris. She's a first-term senator. She's their golden woman. If voters really hated, get this. If voters really hated ties and to Wall Street and financial elites, Republicans would not enjoy such a commanding electoral position or have elected a New York plutocrat president. So he's saying because Republican voters like people who are in bed with Wall Street, that means Democratic voters do too, right? That's literally his logic. Hey, and believe me, people like anti-abortion politicians. If they didn't, why would they keep electing right-wingers? That's his theory. So Democrats should now just be like Republicans because that's what Republican voters like. That's literally his advice. You should do what Republican voters like. Because they get elected. This is in the New York Times. And people make fun of my show. This is in the New York fucking Times, who, by the way, is for the current wars and will be for the next one.
This entire article could just be like one sentence, like, hey, if you can't beat them, join them. That's what I'm saying.
That's this entire...
Let's get the gravy train. Fuck it. That's this whole article.
Most voters' major problems with President Trump stem from his performance, not from his wealth or connections to Wall Street. Well, he doesn't have connections to Wall Street. Wall Street hated Trump. That's why he had to get money from Russian oligarchs to fund his golf courses. Jesus Christ. A January Gallup poll found that moderates and conservatives make up almost 70% of the country, while only 25% of voters identify as liberal. No, I don't know what poll I haven't seen this Gallup poll he's referring to, but I'm sure he's cherry picking some kind of bullshit data about how people self-define themselves. So people might think they're moderate. Most people think they're moderates. Nobody says I'm a radical. Very few people consider themselves radical. I don't consider myself a radical. But a lot of people consider myself a radical because I wouldn't vote for a corporatist warmonger in the last election. So that makes me a radical. That doesn't make me so most people I consider myself a moderate. I'm a moderate. I just want the stuff FDR wanted 80 years ago. That's pretty moderate as far as I'm concerned. So what he's saying is this Gallup poll, people self-described as moderates or conservatives make up almost 70% of the country, while 25% of voters identify as liberal. So you could also do another poll. Hey, if you poll people on the issues, people are liberal or progressive. I don't want to use the term liberal. I'm going to use the term progressive. People want single-payer health care. People want to end the wars. People want to invest that war money back here in infrastructure. People want free college. People want single-payer. This is not brain surgery. People want a more fair tax code. People want to tax the wealthy. People want a transaction tax on Wall Street. This isn't So that's where the country is. That's why Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in the country. And if he was so we know Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in the country, how could that be if 70% of the country is moderate and conservative? How could that be if Bernie's such a radical? So again, this is what someone has to do when they're lying. They have to contradict themselves. They present arguments that aren't logical. They contradict their other arguments from earlier. They contradict themselves. So even in May 2016, when Senator Sanders made redistribution a central part of his platform, Gallup found that only about 35% of Americans had a positive image of socialism. Do you see what he did back in May of 2016? You know, a long effing time ago, before people now are on board with Bernie Sanders. 35% of Americans had a positive image of socialism. That's because of jagoffs like you who misrepresent socialism. People have a very positive view of Medicare for all. People have a very positive view of single payer. People have very positive views of Social Security. That's socialism. And so, again, this guy's cherry-picking facts because he has to lie. He can't tell you what's actually happening. Because if he told you what's actually happening, the people aren't supporting corporatist warmongers anymore because they've seen what's happening. And that's why you have Donald Trump, because you got in bed with Wall Street and you sold out your party's base. That's the truth. So these are all lies to cover up that truth.
Is he also trying to pretend that socialism and capitalism are forms of government? Like when he says capitalism here, like...
Yeah, he said, he's, again...
It's apples and oranges.
It's apples and oranges. Third, it is hypocritical for Democrats to maintain ties to Silicon Valley and then turn their backs on the very people who help finance its work.
What?
That doesn't even... What do you mean turn their backs? You can't turn your backs. You mean not let them do criminal shit that's deleterious to our economy and country? Is that what you mean by turning your back? You mean reinstituting the New Deal banking regulations? That would be turning your back? You mean having a functioning financial sector? That's turning your back? So he just makes it up. He just makes it up, turning your back. You mean having a rational banking policy is turning your back? That's according to this guy. By the way, let's remember who he is, the biggest loser. He lost to Barack Obama with Hillary Clinton, and he just lost to Donnie Tanahan's Trump. Third is turn their backs on the very people who help finance its work. The financial industry brings to market the world's most innovative products and platforms that expand the economy and create jobs. Well, then we should all be swimming in jobs.
Yes.
We should be swimming in high-paying jobs because Wall Street has been unregulated since Bill Clinton. So we should all be swimming in high-paying jobs, except we're not. And so what he says, we should keep doing the same thing. You know what that is? That's insanity, but it's not because you're lying. These guys know better. He doesn't believe any of this shit. They know it's fucking bullshit, and they say it anyway because they're liars, because it fills their pockets with money. This isn't a mistake this guy's making. Look at the world we live in. Everyone knows what's going on. And the only people propping up this corporatist wing of the party are people who have a financial stake in it. And they're lying to keep the gravy train growing. And that's what this guy is. Of course he's a Clintonite. Fourth, demonizing Wall Street does nothing to bridge the widening gaps in our country. You know, good point. When I think about groups being marginalized and discriminated against, Wall Street usually comes to mind first, doesn't it, Ron?
Me too.
Oh, it does nothing. For demonizing Wall Street does not. How about regulating Wall Street? How about a financial tax on Wall Street? How about breaking up the big banks on Wall Street? How about that? Demonizing. You mean telling the truth about Wall Street? You mean not allowing them to do their frickin' illegal shit that now is legal because you changed the laws because our government's completely corrupt and filled with toadies like this liar? This is in the New York Times. This is in the New York Times. This is in the New York Times. New York Times went, this is an opinion that needs to be heard. And yes, the American people are certainly hostile to and suspicious of Wall Street, but using this suspicion and hostility as the organizing principle for a major political party will consign Democrats to permanent minority status. Dude, you are...
As opposed to now when they're knocking it out of the park.
Knocking it out of the park with you got all that Wall Street money and you guys are just killing it. Killing it meaning you're dead. He's acting like you're not wiped out doing this exact strategy that he's recommending. This is the Barack Obama strategy that he's recommending. This is what Barack Obama did. And the Democrats are wiped out. And the only thing that papered over Barack Obama's neoliberalism was that he was pretty and he talked nice.
And he didn't run on those points.
He didn't run on those points.
He didn't run on those points.
He didn't run on neoliberalism.
Won first.
Yeah.
And
then he did it. Here's what the Democrats need to do instead. Develop a set of pro-growth, inclusive economic policies. Democratic leaders must prioritize entrepreneurship, small business growth, and the expansion of job training and retraining. This is what the Democrats have been doing since 1992.
I feel like there's another party that says that same thing.
Which party would that be, right?
I think it's the Republican Party. And I think the goal of a two-party system is to have two different choices.
Yes!
That's what we're supposed to have.
This is the Republicans' platform. These are Republican ideas. This is what Republicans are supposed to say. And he's just, that we're all supposed to be one, but that's what you get when we say one party. Of course you do. You watch the show. American leadership in finance will make it possible for our country to invest as much as $1 trillion in infrastructure, extend healthcare access to every American at an affordable rate, and lift the 76 million Americans who are barely surviving financially. When is that going to happen? Because we deregulated Wall Street in the 90s under Bill Clinton. It's still deregulated. When is American leadership in finance going to give us $1 trillion in infrastructure and health care to every single person? When is that going to happen? It's 2017. You guys have been deregulated going on 20 years now, since 1999. You guys have been deregulated. What, that's 18? I'm not a math surgeon. When is that go? So when that's just something they say. This doesn't happen. This is the idea of trickle-down economics works. You give more money to rich people, they spend it in the economy, and then that creates jobs. Except the exact opposite is what happens. You give money to working people, they spend money in the economy, because rich people are already spending all the money they feel like spending. They already have all the cars they want. They already have all the houses they want. They already have all the boats they want and the clothes they can wear and the diamonds they want. They already have everything. When you give them more money, they stick it into an offshore bank or they put it in a fucking tax haven. It doesn't go into the economy. But that is what this guy says to do. And it's magic. It's the magic. It's the invisible hand of the market. It's going to fix everything, except nothing's fixed. We have the richest country in the world, and half of our population is poor and poverty. 50% of all wage earners earn $30,000 or less. When is this going to happen? When? You've been deregulated since 1999. When is that going to happen? 30 million people still don't have health care. When is this going to happen?
Well, he got that gem from the Federal Reserve, and I'm kind of optimistic because they've never done anything shady before.
They've never done anything shady. The Democrats need to partner with the financial community on these issues. Most important, the Democrats have simply had an ineffective, negative, and coercive economic message. Advocacy of, this is awesome. Advocacy of a $15 minimum wage and further banking regulations does not constitute a positive, proactive agenda. That's exactly what that does. That's exactly what that is. That's exactly a positive, proactive agenda. That would win elections. Doing the opposite. You've been doing the opposite, and you lost. And you continue to lose. You are an irrelevant party right now with no power. The most popular politician in your party isn't even in your party.
I want to give you a living wage. Gee, I would vote for that person, but they seem so negative.
They seem so negative.
Such a Debbie Downer.
I want you to be able to afford things when you go to work full time. How about a positive message? The Democrats cannot be the party that supports only new stifling regulations. They're called protections. Consumer protections. Reducing regulations allows banks to employ capital and finance investment in our country's future, and then crashing that economy within 10 years. What the F? Talk about short memories. This guy started out about short memories.
Yeah.
You guys just crashed the economy 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you crashed the economy. But we need to reduce regulation. There are no regulations. Bill Clinton got rid of them.
So wait, is this an op-ed piece
Yes.
or is this like a PR piece for some corporation? I've honestly forgotten.
It's like a pamphlet from Goldman Sachs. This is like a pamphlet from Goldman Sachs.
Totally is.
Would it surprise
Like,
you?
literally.
Would it surprise you that Schoen was consistently voicing against Occupy Wall Street people?
What's that?
He has a history of speaking out against
This guy?
Occupy Wall Street. Yes.
Does he? Of course he does. Well, this whole thing, he goes, the finance industry makes everything possible. Electric cars, renewable energy, the internet connectivity across the globe, a reality. Wow. We can't do any of that stuff without Wall Street. You have to have Wall Street. They're the ones who figure it all out. They're so smart, yet they crashed our economy. They're so smart. They went out of. They had to get bailed out by us. They were out of business. They were insolvent. They were upside down. Every fucking bank. Lehman Brothers went out of business. This was evident to Democrats in the 1990s. From 1996 to 2000, for example, Democrats led the way on two economic legislative victories. First, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 deregulated the communication and cable industries, increased growth, and enhanced market competition. It totally decreased market competition, which is why we only have 6 companies now. Like, it's just the opposite day.
It eliminated.
It eliminated
pretty
competition.
Much eliminated market competition, and it crushed jobs.
Crushed jobs. Radio and TV jobs went by.
They went away.
Out the window.
It's not a
They're not there. Everything's automated now. They have there's 3 radio stations. There's 3 radio companies. There's 5 broadcasts. That's it. This is the first, by the way, Ron, this may be the first article ever written since the passage of the Telecommunications Act of 1996 that refers to it in a positive way.
Yeah, I've never seen anything.
I've never seen anyone refer to
in a
the
positive.
Telecom Act of 1990. That's when Bill Clinton. There used to be all kinds of regulations. You couldn't own more a TV station and a newspaper and a radio station. You couldn't own more than one. So it was we had diversity of opinions in the marketplace. They got rid of that. That's why AM radio is all right wing in sports. There's no diversity of opinion. Why? Because there's no competition. It's a monopoly. They're allowed to be. This is, again, opposite day.
Big time.
This is the New York Times.
This is unbelievable.
The New York Times doesn't have to write an apology letter for printing this.
I think.
But people get on our show when we get stuff wrong.
Well, I think also, how oftentimes, you see people like this write these op-eds and you're like, oh, who's this random guy? They don't give his credentials, right? There's no credentials that you don't see that he's a professional lobbyist. And I think he's lobbying American public right now with this article. And he's pretending he's a Democrat. He's just another conservative Republican in his points of views and position.
He's a conservative Republican, Steph. There's no doubt about it. Second, the Financial Services Modernization Act of 1997 removed regulations placed on financial institutions by bureaucrats. You mean FDR? You mean FDR?
Bureaucrats.
What they did was they repealed Glass-Steagall, which was an FDR-era regulation. And when they did that, speculation ran wild. They have no regulation on derivatives or credit default swaps. They turned investment banking into casino hopping. They're all speculators, and they used to kill speculators just a few centuries ago. And now speculators is all we have on Wall Street, and they've turned it into investment banking, into casino hopping. And that's all it is, gambling. And they're doing it with your money, which is why they do it with your money, because when they lose, the government bails them out, which is what happened. And then the government kicks you out of your house and gives that house to a bank. That's how they made them whole. Plus, they gave them trillions of dollars. So this guy's saying that the Financial Services and Modernization Act of 1999 removed regulations and expanded opportunities for Wall Street. Yeah, it expanded opportunities for Wall Street to engage in mergers that were deleterious to our economy, in acquisitions that stifled competition, adding wealth to the retirement accounts of just a handful of fucking business guys on Wall Street.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know of a lot of teachers and pilots and a lot of other people that would really disagree with that adding wealth to the retirement accounts part.
Adding wealth to the retirement act. This is literally what this guy, these are blatant lies, and they're printed in the New York Times. And now you wonder why people get their news from YouTube? Do you wonder why? This is in the New York fucking Times. Do you think Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow are going to do a takedown of this article today? Or they're going to have the guy out and say why he's right? That's what they're going to do. If the party is going to have any chance of returning to its position of influence and appeal, Democrats need to work with Wall Street to push policies that create jobs, heal divisions, and stimulate the American economy. They need to work with Wall Street. You know that because they're such good people. Wall Street, they want to help people. They're speculators who are ruining this country. You know what? If Wall Street had their way, they would take every good paying job in this country and ship it to a poorer person in a more desperate situation and fuck everybody in this country. Oh my God, that's what they did. That's our system. That's our system that Wall Street invented. So,
Please heal our divisions, Wall Street. Be the great uniter.
Literally, there's a lot. This could have been written in The Onion.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, if you put that in The Onion, I would go, fuck that. I wish I could have written that. That's such good satire. That is such good satire. Because you do it with a straight face, you pretend like you mean it. But he doesn't mean it. He's lying. That's why it's funny. So again, I'll just call it what it is. That guy's lying. He's lying, like factually lying, but he knows his theory's wrong too. He doesn't really believe this. They don't believe this. Hillary Clinton knows Medicare for All is a better system. They know that money in politics corrupts them, and they know they're corrupted. This guy knows he's corrupted, and he knows what he's advocating is to the detriment of you. He knows that. He doesn't give a fuck. You think you think Wall Street gives a fuck about you? They don't.
You mean they're not going to unite us? I thought they were going to help.
Tom Perez, the DNC, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and this piece of garbage doesn't give a shit about you. They want your life to get a little worse. Great job. The next live Jimmy Dore show is November 6th in Burbank, California, and November 12th in Portland, Oregon. Link for tickets right there.